Being born in the 90s, probably like a decent percentage of you watching this became interested in, or in my case, hyperfixated on something that absolutely dominated pop culture in that decade: dinosaurs. I was obsessed with the damn things, to the point of winning a dinosaur bone from a museum quiz and wanting a career in paleontology. My autism, diagnosed at 2 years old, absolutely compounded this fixation to the nth degree. Any Jurassic Park and Walking with Dinosaurs media or merchandise I consumed was done so like a bag of cookies. Trips to the Natural History Museum and being mesmerised by John Sibick's paleo art, I was quite frankly a terrible lizard junkie. And not knowing any better, a particular film popped up that fit right into said hyperfixation, just because it featured a giant dinosaur-like creature. Like a can of sardines, you watching this might be able to smell it a mile away. Godzilla 1998. With the Fox cartoon in conjunction alongside it, the name Godzilla had firmly cemented itself in my cranium for life. Even with the advent of Pokemon, another rabbit hole by itself, which is how I made my first lifelong friend, Godzilla still persisted where it could. It was at this stage my imagination started to take form, with the G98 toys and cartoon series being the spark which ignited the fire. Born and raised in Britain, the original Godzilla films didn't exist in my world during that time. I wasn't even aware of the Showa era VHS tapes released here till years later, making G98 my only association with the Godzilla name. That is until getting a Nintendo GameCube. Atari and Pipeworks Software released a 3D arena fighting game called Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee. Seeing the name plastered on the case, getting a copy was a no-brainer. What I didn't anticipate was the door it opened. The Godzilla from '98 was nowhere to be seen, instead being greeted to the very first original Japanese design I'd laid eyes on, Godzilla 2000, followed in tow by Heisei Godzilla and all these wonderful monsters to play as and fight against. It was a perfect introduction to the real deal, and timely, as I settled into a proper special needs school, one focused on the development of children with autism. Godzilla domination for the Game Boy Advance came shortly after, with exposure to that game's funky soundtrack and getting my first dose of video game rage from the giant Mecha King Ghidorah boss fight. This only accelerated in 2004 when on a family trip to San Francisco, I picked up a few 2-in-1 DVD releases of the 90s Heisei films alongside Godzilla 2000 by TriStar. I was in love, despite the fact I had no clue of what was happening on screen. Unfortunately for Mum, she was captive audience for a short period and can only apologise to her for being subjected to my hyperfixation at such newfound heights. Sorry, Mum. The mid-2000s rolled in, with the dawning of the single biggest reason every kid in school scrambled for computer break: YouTube. Back when it was broadcast itself and not go far. In timed fashion, Godzilla Final Wars was making the rounds online, Save the Earth got a very compressed trailer on game news sites, and much like the Riders of Rohan, came the tidal wave of fan-made music videos, featuring nearly the entire catalogue of Linkin Park, Rob Zombie, Slipknot and others. Through these videos, my stimuli took on a whole new appreciation for music, an appreciation that would carry through to present day. You'd bet I'd have headphones in and stand rocking and stimming for hours. They allowed me to let go of reality for just a short while and get fully absorbed by imagination, coming up with fictional scenes and having these songs be the backdrop. That all started with those very music videos featuring Godzilla footage. It was an informative era, one I'm eternally grateful for. Those original YouTubers I consider unsung heroes, an oasis in a time when new Godzilla content, outside of the Future Unleashed game, was drastically slowing down, leading to the infamous drought between Final Wars and G14. Despite consuming as much material as I could find, a favourite Godzilla film was not completely solidified yet. I imported the Final Wars DVD from America and loved it to pieces as years of internet hype and YouTube music videos fueled my desire to get it. I can actually remember getting frustrated by a small change on the art of the DVD cover compared to the poster released by Sony. That all changed upon discovering a trailer for a film that didn't see an official DVD release outside Japan, till Universal Laser from Hong Kong came to the rescue, a film that would expand my foray into creative territory that's still lodged in my heart today. Godzilla vs. Biollante. By this stage, my online footprint under the original alias of Gigan05, named after the Bandai Shogokin toy, was well pressed by the means of YouTube and DeviantArt, the tools of choice, Windows Movie Maker and Microsoft Paint. My hyper-fixation on Godzilla and Heisei Gamera, after discovering that magnum opus, had the chance to be expressed in a creative manner. This ranged from Godzilla Unleashed trailer edits, music videos, and the short-lived sprite series Godzilla Nexus. I even made a Gaia avatar for myself. That's how long it's been since that was a thing. Around the same time, I started properly collecting Godzilla figures, including the aforementioned Gigan figure, well as Bandai of America vinyls and various imports. Godzilla fan films and stop motions were taking off, and I wanted in on the action. That didn't really go anywhere outside of some stop motion tests I made some time later. But what did come out of it was a passion for figure photography that made its way to DeviantArt and YouTube via slideshows. Also came my first proper toe dipping into the realm of writing, a la Godzilla fanfiction. In fact, a friend and I started one in the hopes of sending it off to Toho. We didn't get far, but being autistic we were fully fixed in, brainstorming ideas and coming up with designs for monsters. Troubles at home and dealings with real life nonsense at this point in my adolescent years meant all the time spent online became a focus, something to escape to, as my autism really impeded against me trying to understand nor process what was going on. Among these was listening to and getting absorbed by music, mostly soundtracks and the rock music mentioned earlier. Enter Audacity, and messing around with tracks as a pastime. It was through this program the seeds were sown for what would become the single most successful and viral niche I'd carve out online. Don't really need to elaborate on that too much, except with the release of Shin Godzilla and its soundtrack. That, as you know, did wonders, and the creative calling was acted upon. 2014. I like to say between then and now was a time to look back on fondly, and certainly there have been some real high points, including a wonderful trip to Japan the year before as a 21st birthday present, discovering MCN Comic-Con and the release of the much coveted Godzilla 2014 film, still my personal favourite IMAX experience to this day. I was also studying at college, and for context, the special needs school I attended prior was great for building communication skills, but fell short when it came to academia itself. The highest educational grade we studied at was entry level 3+, far below the typical GCSE grades taught in mainstream schools. For any Americans watching this, GCSEs is something academia here in Britain takes seriously if you want to progress through education from secondary school onwards. You have to pass any and all GCSEs given to you. No ifs or buts. Problem is, we really did not get any outside of some bizarre equivalents called ASDAN used for our school, complete with these ugly bindfolders that in the end amounted to nothing. Total dogwash and somewhat a waste of time. So here I was opening night at college, staring dumbfounded and confused at a maths question that involved powers. What are powers? Why does this equation have English letters in it? This was for an engineering course, the one thing I figured to try thanks to work experience helping out with the work stores there. If there was any time to hate being autistic, this was it. Math was, and still is, my weakness, and for engineering it is lifeblood. Cannot function without it. Looking back at that night, it would not come as a surprise if that precise moment was the catalyst for what was to come later. Collecting, following, and obtaining information on the SH Monster Arts Godzilla figures was much needed relief when new announcements were shared via magazine scans, alongside Toho Revlotex and other collectibles. I also strongly desired more independence in life, as internal frustration at being autistic and its limitations was boiling over. Struggles and misunderstandings at college, with toxic, traumatizing family drama at home, and the British government going all in on gutting financial aid for all kinds of neurological issues, made a growing cynicism manifest at best, a slow burn depression at worst. Engaging with Godzilla content and other media for different interests online at that point in my life helped me chug along, from watching more films, having a great period of mashup output on YouTube, and getting better at sprite editing on DeviantArt. My imagination began maturing on all fronts, which what led to my proudest creative achievement to date, the stop motion project that became Godzilla vs. a Stranger. Production was lightning in a bottle, as Mum was working abroad, enabling me to reach the scope I wanted as best as I could. Green screen was too daunting a prospect, so makeshift sets were scrambled together. I was digesting and appreciating darker storylines, including, but not limited to, the likes of Devilman, John Carpenter's The Thing, etc., and wanted to incorporate that atmosphere into it. The limited one-day screening of Shin Godzilla by Manga Entertainment was a massive driver, not only with this project, but all things I created across the board. Godzilla vs. Biollante was my gold medal favourite for its imagination and attempt at storytelling not really seen before in the series, not to mention being rich in a moody atmosphere that I sorely missed and still miss now. It was Godzilla taken into a sci-fi and spiritual territory my own imagination really resonated with. Somehow, Shin Godzilla topped it. Just like Biollante, Shin Godzilla felt experimental and bold with what it got away with regarding Godzilla's evolution and depiction in that film. It broke studio mandate, something I felt was strangling the series' creative potential. Even with a growing depression and anxiety in the background, fueled by the imagination that kept me going through each and every single day, finishing Godzilla vs. a Stranger against all the self-doubt and what-ifs was the last time I truly felt accomplished by my own creative efforts to such high degree. This was the first 2 months of 2019. Hype for King of the Monsters was through the roof after that first, and what should have been, its only trailer. But my gripes with the final film was the least of troubles that laid ahead. My anxiety was reaching unbearable levels, to the point of catastrophism and paranoia. Little did I know part of it was signs of something my autism had become incredible bedfellows with. Something that impacted those closest to me, my mum. Something after years of appalling navigating childhood trauma, bottling thoughts and feelings, low confidence, and self-loathing through not getting anywhere after graduating college with the skin of my teeth. It was pure obsessive compulsive disorder. A few terrible episodes prior and during, combined with the pandemic, 2020 onwards became the darkest period of the 33 years I've been alive on this earth. No comfort, not even Godzilla or any other interest could stem the non-stop barrage of the most awful kind of intrusive thoughts and urges imaginable, over and over and over. Every waking moment and every time I tried to sleep, it was there, setting my cheeks on fire as fight or flight refused to switch off. The autism just empowered it, taking my already impeded ability to understand things and bludgeon my psyche further. The two, hand in hand choking my cognizance, gnawing away at any semblance of a life worth living. Constant anxiety and disturbing thoughts in an insatiable loop with no end. The ruminations would not stop. It all felt real, and honestly would not wish it upon anybody. A hell I never want to go, nor put my mum especially, through ever again. The road to and through therapy was a bumpy one. We tried a few therapists, which didn't work out initially as the OCD was undiagnosed at first. What didn't help was the first one operated at a spiritual angle, which compounded these issues and confusion. It also appeared none of them had a proper understanding of autism either. During this time, I made myself idle and didn't really do anything, not even engaging with the things that gave me stimulation, which all felt very distant then, just letting myself get bogged down in my own turbulent, frightening headspace. It was a very bad place to be. Eventually, and once the cause of my despair had a name, we got someone who understood both autism and OCD to finally get to the ball rolling down a path of managing it all. This is why, no matter if you're autistic or neurotypical, having family, a friend or two, or someone you trust really makes a difference, even if you don't see it or feel that way initially. The turning point for better was a brief discussion with my friends on the upcoming Netflix adaptation of the Transformers War for Cybertron video game. Just briefly talking about it made a shift in my thought patterns, one that made the biggest impact on my journey to a better place, mentally and emotionally. Then came the progress made through making an effort for therapy, learning things that I still carry with me to this day. Gradually I started to find some enjoyment in my old interests again, listening to music, watching films, and delving back into writing to finish a novel I started too long ago. The advent of Godzilla -1 and seeing that with friends helped us growing fortitude immensely. It made me a fan once more, and realise I can still live life even with said neurological difficulties. My imagination is back stronger than ever, and even more so with a newfound appreciation for symphonic music, which I started collecting more seriously. Between 2024 and this year, the United Kingdom has been getting long, criminally overdue big screenings of Japanese kaiju and tokusatsu films for the first time. Even with a limited social battery, I've been nudging myself to attend things like this and try talking to people who are just as enthusiastic about this niche. Anxiety and bouts of OCD are still present at times with various intensity and most likely will be for the rest of time. But the chin is up a bit higher and can make sense of things with improved clarity. Do not underestimate what uplift, no matter how short, of just having a small group of people who will listen to you no matter what, can unease the burden of a troubled mind just steadily enough to put one more foot forward every day. Family and friends who have been listening since the troubles at home started, they are truly cherished more than they know, coming from someone who doesn't find expressing it easy. And through it all, thick and thin since day one of my lifetime, is Mum, a nurse by background who had already endured too much, yet kept fighting my corner no matter what came our way. I would not be here making videos if it weren't for her deciding to keep me after being told I could be put into lifelong care. And having seen those places growing up, that is no life. A single mum who raised me, a severely autistic child, and fought tooth and nail to get me thriving in the right educational environment when the United Kingdom barely acknowledged autism, making everything an uphill fight. A fight she won. A fight to ensure I stood a chance to start living life full stop. Even now, with OCD and the benefit system attempting to stifle future chances, she still pushes onwards. I know most say their mum is the best, but I truly lucked out with mine. A kind, strong, empathetic fighter. For that, I will forever be grateful and continue to relish the love and bond we have together. I cannot and will never be able to thank her enough, no matter the level of expression I can muster. Autism will always be a part of me, one that will continue to present lifelong challenges for better or worse. But so is the family, my mum, the one-of-a-kind friends I met at that very same special needs school so long ago, and my love, or rather hyper-fixation on Godzilla and other latex-born science fiction giants in tokusatsu and beyond. Most likely with Pokemon and dinosaurs tailing not far behind. Born autistic, alive as a Godzilla enthusiastic. Now, if only YouTube could get its act together. That would be fantastic.